So as promised, here's my SIP 214 P214 TIG welder. There's AC and DC. I do aluminium on it and steel, stainless steel. Most of the stainless stuff I actually do on a JASIC pulse 200 amp welder, a little sort of handbag welder, just because I prefer the pulsing on that. But this is good sort of general purpose. This is my first TIG. Like I say, I got it as an end of the line product, sort of shop soiled. I wanted to sort of talk to you about a few of the modifications I did. One of the main ones I did, which has been really beneficial, is the pedal. One of the things that I noticed in the early days of trying out different TIG welders, etc., was the pedal makes the welder a lot of the time. The thing that you're become used to and like using is probably the pedal. So I first got this pedal on the left with the welder. I bought it separately. I think it's about 100 or 200 quid. And it's an SIP product at the time. Came with all the cables that fit on the front, and it was okay originally, but the potentiometer inside of it fell apart, and this sort of fell apart subtly, which is the worst thing. I was actually welding some aluminium tanks up last Christmas just for my car, and the thing kept bouncing up and down and stopping and starting, and I just had enough of it in the end. I thought it's got sort of quite a cheap linear pot in there, and rather than replace it, I started to look into what all these other welders are using, what they come with, and why they probably feel a bit nicer. And one thing I noticed was that Artec in the UK, which will be Everlast, I think, in America. I don't know if all the products are the same, but they're quite similar. Tend to use one of these, which is an SSC pedal. You can get them, I think, just for a couple of £100, whatever that is in dollars. And obviously you've got all the shipping and the import duty with that. But or you could just buy one off of Artec or something. Specifically, this used a 10 kiloohm pot, but that wouldn't necessarily be that important because you're still scaling a voltage, if you like, so it will just make it finer or more coarse to use depending on what resistance you decide to use. I'm guessing you're probably going to be called out on that, but it'll still be 0 to 5 volts, if you get what I'm saying. It'll just be how it gets there or how it's used. But I decided to stick with the same resistance just to keep everything the same, and it absolutely transformed the machine. I'll try and get a few videos on it welding. I think I've got a few that I filmed on a GoPro, but the absolutely transformed the machine. It's a fairly decent power source, and it just made it a bit more linear, a bit more predictable, especially when trying to tack up thinner parts and trying to get into thinner parts. When you're doing aluminium, that can be quite difficult to get going, especially if you're on an edge. You've got things bouncing around and you're trying to weld an edge, and usually that's going to lead to the old favourite, where it just starts pouring in all sorts of rubbish, and you start getting uncomfortable and frustrated, and the weld starts blackening up as it's oxidising and going porous. So yeah, that just improved. A lot of things moved forward from getting this pedal. So it's quite pleased with spending the money on that. I was just going to get a whole new welder, maybe second hand or brand new, get one, not probably a Lincoln or a Miller or anything, but probably an Artec was where I was looking. But really, I'm glad I didn't spend the money now, because what I've got is not too bad, So don't be put off by a lot of people who say, oh, you don't want one of them. And I walked into BOC and I told the guy that I had this welder, this SIP, and he pretty much laughed me out of the shop, to be honest. But I'm glad I kept hold of it. And he's actually trying to sell me a JASIC, and as some of you will know, the JASIC is a pretty similar machine inside. Probably some slightly better components in there. They're both Chinese derived. There's no arguing that. Isn't everything made there? So yeah, but yeah, quality wise, okay. You can still get spares from as well. Actually, SIP sell the bits. Sometimes you can buy them directly off the website. I'm happy for now. If it breaks to a certain degree, who knows? You know, I might have to probably go down a different road. But I'm happy for now. Like I say, I converted it, put the plug, put the panel connection on the back actually, just because there wasn't really enough room to get it on the front, not nicely through that panel, and I thought it's just going to get in the way of things. I'm going to end up getting annoyed with it. So it's out of the way. Obviously got two sort of redundant plugs there now. Sorry, redundant sockets. But I'm not too bothered. There's not much space behind them. Everything else, yeah, it's been fairly reliable on it. In the damp, sometimes if you've got one of these and you get towards the colder months, especially in the UK, things get a bit damp in your garage. You'll find that the might not light up as well on the weld. Probably better on the DC than the AC, which is the favourite I found. Usually, you'll at the same time you'll notice that the spark, there's no spark across the spark gap. It's probably because it's damp. It's not shielded. It's not covered in as standard, by the way. I actually got this without the HF working, the HF start, and I don't know why, but I guess I just didn't read the instructions properly or the sales ticket, but I actually thought it didn't have it for a while, and I was sort of scratch starting the machine, really real stupid, because it had it the whole time, it just didn't work. Like I said, I got it end of line. I expected problems for how much I paid for it. Let's put it that way. But yeah, got the spark gap cleaned up and set to the correct gap, and yeah, she's been good ever since. And the main thing is the pedal. So yeah, any more questions you got on it, leave them in the comments box, and I'll probably try to answer them. Have a look at them. If you've got one of them and you need any help, like I say, SIP do still sell the bits from. There's a few other welders that are pretty much the same inside, which aren't SIP, but they're pretty much the same inside. Most of them followed this sort of format of having this massive sort of case, this style of inverter. I believe it was based on, I can't remember what make of welder originally, but it was based around some other design, and they've obviously, dare I say, copied, but sort of massaged the copyright a bit perhaps, and got things to work. I don't know, but yeah, it's fairly good. 200 amps, and I find sometimes it probably sticks out a bit more than that. It definitely welds over what it quotes. So single phase machine, fairly happy.